Today we begin discussing the molecular biology of cells. In Module 4 we already looked at the parts of cells and the organelles of cells and what all those different organelles do, and that included all the organelles that were found in the cytoplasm. We stopped at the point where we got to mitochondria, and we took an extended side trip into what it is that mitochondria do. And so that's where we left things off. Now we're going to pick up with an organelle that we mentioned briefly in Module 4, but we haven't talked about in any detail, and that's the organelle called the nucleus. So we're going to start with a discussion of the nucleus and what goes on in the nucleus. Here's a schematic drawing of the nucleus, and also an electron micrograph at the bottom. This photo is an electron micrograph of the nucleus, so you can see how our conceptual drawing fits with the electron micrograph, the real data that's here. And we can see that the nucleus is packed with some kind of mysterious material, which they're calling chromatin. And this chromatin is actually a form of DNA that we'll be able to look at later on in other objectives. So we'll get to that in a few minutes or a few hours, depending on when it is that you watch this. The chromatin comes in two forms. It's either unspooled, open, ready chromatin, which we call euchromatin, or it's a kind of clustered, clumped up form of DNA packing that's called heterochromatin. And we'll talk later on about what each of those do and what we know about the function of each of those. We also see a nucleolus within the nucleus. A nucleolus is a ribosome factory, and the function of ribosomes and the importance of ribosomes we're going to see later on. This is where we start to make the ribosomes that we're going to need for important functions of the cell. We also see closely associated with the nucleus an organelle that we briefly discussed in Module 4 called the rough endoplasmic reticulum. We told you very quickly in Module 4 that the rough endoplasmic reticulum was involved in the synthesis of proteins. You know that proteins are an essential part of cells, and we're going to look in detail at that role of the rough endoplasmic reticulum and of free ribosomes in making protein in this module. So what are the functions of this structure? Now that we've looked at the anatomy of the structure, the microscopic anatomy of the structure, as is our usual practice, we're going to try to relate the structure to the function. So what are the functions of the nucleus? Well, the nucleus has the storage of the cell's genetic material, those codes that we talked about for making everything that the cell is going to become, everything that all of the cells of the body are going to become. As I mentioned earlier, it can either be packaged loose as euchromatin or packed into tight structures, heterochromatin. If we take heterochromatin to its logical extension and we pack things as tightly as they possibly can be packed, then we call those chromosomes. We have chromosomes in a cell when the DNA has to be divided between two daughter cells. And the nucleus is also going to be the site where we make the protein coding material. So the material that codes for protein is a nucleic acid that we were introduced to in Module 3 called ribonucleic acid. And we're going to take some time to look at the detailed structure of DNA and RNA in the next few slides.